Hi guys, it's Liv again and welcome back to A Green Life. This is part 2 and today, very excitingly, as promised, I am taking you through the process that I went through in order to build some raised vegetable beds from recycled pallets. This is super easy. It's also really budget friendly. You can pick up pallets from just about anywhere these days, so it's definitely worth keeping an eye out for anyone maybe on one of your local Facebook selling groups or something like that. I wanted to build 2 raised beds. I knew that pallets would make them a particular size that would be good for us for starting out anyway. So we wanted to kind of start off quite small and quite simple to begin with. So today, that's exactly what we're gonna go through. We're gonna go through the steps. I don't have any footage of breaking down the pallets, I'm afraid, because I did kind of cheat a little bit and I got my boyfriend to do it for me in the end because I personally was rubbish at it. You will damage some of the wood when you're breaking up the pallets, and unfortunately I'm an idiot and didn't film him doing any of that. All you really need to know is that you kind of want to be using a crowbar, maybe a hammer, something that you can really get in between the slats and the chocks for, and to try and level them or angle them so that they end up going either side of the nails, so that when you pry it up, you're not fighting against the nail, you're working with the direction of the nail. Pro tip: if you've got a pallet that's really old and has been outside for ages and the nails are really rusty, this will be harder. So if you can, try and get pallets where the nails look like they're not too badly rusted, because it makes your life so much easier. As you're breaking your pallets up, don't forget to put any damaged pieces, any split pieces, anything rotten, anything with holes in, anything at all. Store all the damaged or useless wood to one side, and all the good solid sturdy bits that you get out of the pallet, put them to another side. The good pieces will make up the sides of your bed, and the damaged pieces can be used to create support pieces that are going to make the whole thing really sturdy and secure and join all the slats together in the end. Once your pallet is all broken up, the next thing you're going to want to do is meticulously go through every single useful piece of wood and remove all the nails. The exact measurements of both finished beds will be on the blog. There is a link in the description bar below to the blog post for that, where you'll be able to find that information once I've written it. So if you're watching this in the future, it's down there. If you're watching it right now, I haven't done it yet because I'm lazy. So I had originally watched a video tutorial about how to break down and rebuild pallets as veg beds by Huw Richards. I will link his original video down below. It's really informative. He gives you loads of great tips and he makes breaking the pallets down look really easy. And in his video tutorial, Huw does say that if you wanted to use these raised beds to plant things like potatoes or something that needs extra space, you should probably make the sides of the beds at least 4 slats high. I knew that I wasn't going to be doing that, so I just opted to make my sides 3 slats tall. And then I just laid them all out, so I have my 4 sides all arranged in front of me. And then I was able to measure and cut some support pieces to join all 3 of these slats together. This is where the damaged wood from breaking down the pallets comes in really handy. You can see here that I am using the damaged wood to measure and cut into support pieces, which are joining the 3 slats together. And what I did was I put 6 screws in each piece so that it was really secure. I also opted for screws rather than nails when building my beds, just because in Huw's video he does use the nails that he's able to take out of the pallets. He salvages the nails and reuses them for building the beds. I personally opted for screws just because most of the nails that I pulled out of the pallets were completely rusted and bent and crooked and awful, and also secondly because I do live in quite a wild weather area. You know, we're on Skye, we get incredibly high winds, we get incredibly heavy rain, we get a lot of really wild weather, and I wanted the beds to be able to survive all of that for a really long time. So I went for proper proper screws that can be used outdoors for external projects and that are gonna last years and years and years, because I want these beds to last years and years and years. So the other thing you'll see I'm doing is I saved all the wooden chocks that separate the two sides of the pallets. This is going to be how we're going to secure each side to the bed to make sure that it's really nice and strong and secure. And you'll have one in each corner of the bed, as you can see here, and all you're going to do is just drill some pilot holes through the side of the bed into the chock and then put a nice long secure screw in there. I did make a mistake. It only happened once, but I made the mistake of putting one of my support pieces too close to the end of that particular side that I was working on. So what I ended up with was I had to get an even longer screw, and I had to screw through the side of the bed, the support piece, and into the wooden chock, and then screw it in there. And that is not ideal. It's clunky, it's messy, it's not very nice looking. Like, I wanted them to be nice and neat, but I only made that mistake once, and as soon as I put the chock in that corner, I was like, oh God, this is great. So don't do that. Make sure you leave enough room at the end of your pieces for the chocks to go in, because it will make all the difference. Just repeat this for all 4 sides. It's super easy, and then you've got a recycled pallet vegetable bed, which is amazing. And I was so proud of myself. Even at this stage, I was like, oh, I actually did a thing. So once my beds were assembled, I put them up on more spare chocks and gave them a really rough sand, just to get the worst of all the crud and gunk off. And then I gave them 2 coats of the Ronseal exterior paint in the colour Willow, which incidentally is also the colour that I repainted our log store. We had to move that, and I wanted to give it a bit of a refurbish because it's almost 10 years old and it's battered and bruised. So I also gave that a couple of coats of the Ronseal paint, and that just means that everything looks nice and uniform, and you know, it kind of matches nicely, and it's going to look really nice when the beds are full and overflowing with food and crops, and you know, I think it's going to look really, really pretty, as well as being really good for the wood. It's going to make the wood last an awful lot longer. So the last step, once the beds are in position, which I haven't done yet so I can't show you, is to line and fill ready for planting, which is definitely the exciting bit. I bought pond liner on Amazon for like a tenner, and I think it was even free delivery as well. So I'm waiting for that to arrive, and then I'm just going to staple the pond liner to the inside of the bed itself, cut some drainage holes in the bottom. It'll keep the wood protected from the water held in the soil. It's going to keep them relatively weed proof as well, which makes our job a lot easier when it comes to weeding, and it's going to help fill all the little rustic and charming gaps that there are in the sides of my beds, because I sort of ran out of perfectionism about halfway through and just thought, yeah, that bit's missing a corner, but it'll be fine. So there are a few little holes and gaps, and you know, I want it contained and I want it neat and tidy, so I am going to be lining it with pond liner. But you could use any weed-proof membrane or waterproof membrane, even just on the sides, if you wanted to. You don't even really have to line it. I'm just doing that because I want the wood to be protected, and the only pallets I could get when I started this project were the blue ones, as you've seen, and I don't really like the idea of that blue paint being in contact with the soil. And there you have it. I will definitely be doing an update at some point of lining, filling, and then planting the beds. As soon as the pond liner arrives, I'll be able to crack on with that, so that's really, really good. Once you get to the stage of constructing the beds, I found that I needed a second pair of hands just to hold the sides together so that I could screw the chocks into the right place and make sure it was really sturdy and secure and lined up properly. But obviously, if you're doing this and you're home alone, then you know, you'll maybe have to use a wall or a series of clamps, or you know, something like that. So hopefully that shouldn't be too difficult to work around. So there we go guys, that's how I built 2 raised veg beds from completely free and upcycled pallets. I'm really pleased with how they turned out. I think they look really cute. I can't wait to see them full of fruit and veg and, you know, just looking really lovely and productive for us. It's going to be really exciting. I'm really proud because this is the first thing I've ever built myself. I realized I had help, but I did the majority of the building myself, and I'm really pleased with how they came out. They're a little janky here and there, but you know what? For a first attempt, not knowing what I was doing, I think I did okay. I'm pleased with them, to be honest. As I said, I will leave a link once it's written to the blog post detailing every single measurement and every single size of everything that I used for this project in the description bar below, as well as the video tutorial I watched on Huw's channel in order to kind of get a good starting point and to know what I'm doing. That will be linked down there as well. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter. They will be linked down below too. And yeah, awkward sign off. Bye.